I'm Dr. Bill Barrett, and very excited to be with Dr. Rob Heidt today. Rob, one of the all-time great orthopedic surgeons in the history of Cincinnati medicine, one of the all-time great Cincinnatians. So, Rob, thanks so much for being here. And we'll get to medical talk in a moment here, but first, hear about your musical career. And I think all of us would love to be a rock star. But when I was in fourth grade, I was the only kid in the class that got company choir. It's like, why don't you count one kid? But you heard me sing, you know why. But you actually did have a rock career. Can you tell us a little about it?
Well, I did. It started when I was 5 years old.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I started playing piano. I played classical piano till I was a freshman at St. X High School. And at that point, I decided to become a rock star. So I talked to my father and mother into buying me a little Farfisa organ and started with a little band called the Heywoods, who had one song on the top 40 list.
Really?
But yeah, but it wasn't with me. I just played with them for a little bit. But then we started our band, the Moving Violations. We played for 5 years and had a great time. I really enjoyed it. If I hadn't decided to go into medicine, I probably would have stayed in music.
Awesome.
But after that, medicine took over.
Great. What's the longest streak your hair ever got?
Well, being a Jesuit school, I wasn't allowed to have too long a hair, so I had a wig. Well, I got the wig with Bo Donaldson from the Heywoods, and because he was at St. X as well, and we all had our hair down about our shoulders. During the summer, I could get it down about to my shoulders. But,
That's great.
those were the days of wearing army jackets and down the moon.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Well, wasn't a heyday of music, though? Late 60s, early 70s.
It was the best. In fact, my kids still play that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
And did you play in college, too?
just not with rock and roll. After that, my music became primarily just improv. And I would just sit down when I felt like it and played some music. And now I hear all these songs that I remember I used to play in the 7th grade that I can't even come close.
Are you playing these days?
I'm sorry?
Are you playing these days?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I played this afternoon.
Really?
For a little while. Yeah, I just wanted to have I saw this book and I thought, well, I could read some of that. And well,
Can you sing, too?
no. I was a do-a-diddy-diddy guy. So, ooh-ah, ooh-ah.
That's awesome. Also, fascinating career in sports medicine over the years. You had between the Bengals and the Reds, you had St. X and other schools. And any particular highlights come to mind in terms of the Bengals days?
Well, there were so many different guys that were just fun to be with. I mean, that unfortunately all got hurt. But, when Anthony Munoz goes down in the end zone and he's obviously got a dislocated elbow. And he's like, yeah, he's this big guy and he's tough as nails. If kids like yelling and screaming. I said, Anthony, you're not going to like this. Hold on. And I just made this move and goes, really go back in? Really? I said, no, you can't. But he did play in the Pro Bowl 2 weeks later.
That's something.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think he had either 0 or 1 sacks his entire career. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he was. And what a gentleman. And tell you about for charity what he does. It's incredible.
They're kidding.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But then high school injuries and things. It was nice to be able to go to Super Bowl and nice to be able to go to state championships. But it wasn't all about that. You had to go to do all the other stuff. And it was challenging, sometimes for all the time that it took.
They're kidding.
My kids would start to say, well, where's my daddy? But, now they understand that we're all good friends. So that's good.
Yeah, but as a SANS grad and then helping so much of the SANS program over the years, man, what a class program. I mean, Steve Specht and the job over the years and just all the stuff that you want your kids to learn.
No, absolutely. Well, he's still doing it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And my one son played under him, so that's really neat.
Yeah. I remember when Steve Rastor retired as the St. X coach, and there was no question at all that Steve Speck was going to be the guy. There's no question. And I saw him right after that. I said, Steve, there's always controversy. There's always, should have been this guy, should have been that guy. Anytime that gets promoted or appointed, that's the only 2 times in American history I've ever heard there was no controversy at all was when they needed the first president of the United States. Gotta be George. I mean, did no controversy at all. The only other time that ever happened was when Steve Rasmussen retired. Ever since, it's got to be Steve Speck. No controversy at all. That he's living up to it. He's done a fantastic job.
He's still there and still doing it. It's been decades. We're getting older.
Huh. Pretty wild. And pretty fun times with the Reds too?
Well, the Reds were fun. I remember being down in the locker room, and I forget whether it was Pete Rose was the manager at the time, but we were coming into the 8th inning and we were ahead, and he said, "Why don't you just take off, Doc? It was a night game." I said, "Okay, it's fine." And I turned the radio on as I'm driving down the Columbia Parkway, and all of a sudden, Mookie Wilson runs into our second baseman, Ron Oster, and just destroyed his knee.
Ron Oster or Mookie?
Ron Oster's.
From Withrow High School.
Yeah. And so I U-turn going 100 miles an hour back to the stadium. And that was probably one of the toughest surgeries I really had to do. I mean, he had everything torn. And, he fought through the recovery, and I'm not mistaken, I think he was an all-star the next year.
How about that?
He's pretty amazing.
He's a tough guy and a great player.
It's important with sports stuff. You always have people that are determined.
Yeah.
As opposed to people that are sick, might not be determined.
Well, how about that? How about the importance of attitude relative to recovery from sports injuries, cancer diagnosis? I mean, the importance of attitude and the influence of people can will them in certain directions.
Well, I think it's critical. You have to be assured that what you're doing is the right thing to do. And especially with cancer, you have to have that positivity that you are going to do as well as you could possibly do. Whether you're cured or whether you go into remission or whatever, I mean, that is important, because if you think that you're not getting the best care, it just makes your life miserable and everybody around you. So you've done an amazing job with the organization to certainly give a lot of people confidence, self-assuredness, and comfort.
Thanks.
That's important.
Thanks. It's amazing the courage that people show. People going along, life is normal, and all of a sudden this life-changing diagnosis, and how quickly people are so often able to adjust to it, move into fighting mode. And you see the best in human nature on a regular basis, the courage and grace and dignity people show going through it, the help they get from their family members and the medical professionals that come together for such a great cause. Thanks so much for your support of us, of Cincinnati Cancer Advisors and Naples Cancer Advisors. And as you well know, the idea is this completely objective second opinion from somebody who's not willing to assume your care. It's about, do you mind just talk about the uniqueness of that relative to other medical things you've seen over the years when people got multiple opinions, or people were recommended by somebody to get a treatment that they happen to be doing, and the benefit of this completely objective second opinion?
Well, the difference is, as you said, objective, which is important. So there is that which leads people like a map. This is the way you should be going. There are so many second opinions that come out there where some doctors are more experimenters. They're not very objective in their treatment. They may be saying, well, I think this will work, and you become literally a human guinea pig. I'm not saying that this is a common scenario with physicians, but getting a second opinion can be objective, or it can have strings attached to it. And the strings attached, as you know, would be, well, go see the other guy in my group, and he'll agree with what I say, and then they'll send it back to me, or somebody that's in my same hospital. And maybe they are the best, and maybe they're going to give you the best thought, but you want to make sure that that person is objectively giving you the best second opinion you can get. And especially with somebody like you who knows physicians and treatment modalities throughout the world, it makes a big difference to know that, well, if I need to go out of town, I can, but if I don't have to, I won't, and some people just need reassurance with a second opinion that what their doctor is going to do is the right thing to do. So, and that saves people money that they wouldn't have to spend.
Yeah, and you had such an incredible medical career. And talk a little bit about the advancements in orthopedics, the time you started to the time you entered.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, when I started orthopedics in 1981, the arthroscope was just coming out, and people were pushing water into knees and joints by hand, and it was really strange. But I knew that I wanted to be a sports doc because it was just becoming a subspecialty. It continued to grow and grow and grow. What happened is it made life easier for the patient. It was minimally invasive. The risks went down. Infections went down. The getting back to your sport was so much faster and expedient. But even that continued to evolve. So you had ways to fix things through a scope, which, as you know, is like the size of a pen, to do things that you would have normally had to fillet that person open. I mean, it is night and day. And that became really my standard for all patients, not just my athletes, because I knew all of my people wanted to be treated like an athlete. And they wanted to get well quicker, safer, and that made all the difference in the world. As I look back now, over 40 years of practice, things continue to evolve and change. And this is where the second opinion is important, because you might be going to a young doc who has very little experience, or you might go to an older doc who hasn't kept up on the new things going. So, I mean, everybody's different. So it's not like I'm against old docs or young docs, but you want to make sure that you get that opinion that this guy is as up to date as possible on the technology and on the rehab and the treatment modes.
Well, I run into so many people to this day that talk about the incredible care you gave them through your career. And there's so many people that are walking, running, exercising, living. So it must be gratifying to you because you run these people too all the time. I'm sure people are still thanking you this day, aren't they?
Well, sort of. I think I still run a second opinion practice of my own right now. I was even giving second opinions this morning, a couple of people. So, but I like that. I like the fact that they're not afraid to call. And I still know enough of the top dogs and I know who's there. They'll ask me, would you have this surgery? Yes, no. And, but I think the first thing is you have to be honest with your patient. And if you're not honest with them, and if you don't touch your patient, you're not attached to them. So even if you go in there and you say, Rob, you've got some cancer and we're going to get through this, that just made a ton of difference to me. So, and my dad taught that. But there's so many doctors that won't touch a patient. You go in, got the computer, I got the notes. We don't have time for the patient.
Yeah. But you set a standard to your career. Yeah, and I really think that you've been an incredible role model for me. I'm 10 years younger. And for a lot of people in my generation that looked up to you over this year. So that's where I want to be. That's the kind of doctor I want to be. And with that, I think your influence in the medical community has been exponential. So it will continue to be for years.
Well, I appreciate that. And right now I'm on Xavier University sport, and we're going to open up a college of medicine and more holistic, but it's still, I'm excited about that it's the first new medical school in Ohio in 50 years. That's just unbelievable. So if we should have had more, you get more doctors. There's a shortage of doctors, as you know.
Yeah.
So
that's why it's a great project. Thanks for doing it.
Well, labor of love.
Yep.
We were born to it.
Absolutely. Rob, thank you so much. And I think the Royal NBA, and I'm so grateful for you being on the podcast today, and particularly for our friendship.
Well, thank you, Billy. You know, we will always be close.
Right. Thanks for Barrett. Super job. Thank you.
Go Bengals.
Yeah.